it's Kiss and welcome back to KTV Network. Today I am reacting to hidden content, Mortal Kombat's insane secret characters. The only one I know was Carmelian? Chameleon? Yeah. By Pick a Spray Yellow. Yo, I'm blind. Okay, but yeah, let's see what he has to show us, or they, or she. I don't know. I don't know. But let's see.
Hello Internet users, and welcome to the premiere of Hidden Content, the show where we celebrate and explore some of gaming's craziest secrets and unlockables. Whether it be a cheat code that requires specific button inputs at the right time, a hard-earned unlockable item or feature, or a seemingly random Easter egg that you could just happen to stumble across, with many games there is always something tucked away waiting to be found. The idea of such things is something that has always fascinated me. Video game secrets have appeared in all sorts of different forms, and can be unpredictable, as there are no set rules for what can and cannot be done with them. For example, take a game like Silent Hill 2, a psychological horror game with a dark atmosphere and tone all the way through,
Very good game.
but fulfill a bunch of oddly specific conditions, and you can unlock a joke ending where it turns out that all of the horrific things occurring were because of a dog manipulating everything from a control room. It's so ridiculous and goes against everything that the game aims to do, yet it still takes away nothing from the experience by being included, and is hailed as another one of the many things that fans loved about the series. It's the little weird and neat secrets like that that can make an already great game leave far more of an impression. And to start off the first episode of Hidden Content, today we're going to be looking at a series that is no stranger to the subject, Mortal Kombat. Specifically, we're going to be covering the first two games, Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2, and how they pulled off what could be considered one of the most brilliant ideas that was ever seen on an arcade title. Make yourself comfortable and let's begin with the classic that started it all. The first Mortal Kombat game landed in the arcades in 1992, to great success. However,
I love this. I love arcades. Like or leave a comment down below if you remember those arcade games in movie theaters or any other art, but especially in the movie theaters. You know, like that was the spot. You know, in the early 2000s, that was great. Memories. But yeah, let's get into it.
Due to its graphic depictions of violence and the outcry it sparked at the time, as a result it is often cited as one of the most controversial games ever released. However, this is something that often overshadows many of the other things that Mortal Kombat has a right to boast about. One of which is the fact that it was the first fighting game to feature a secret character. While this did not exist in the initial release, later editions of the arcade cabinet would have an additional character that could not be seen on the character select screen and could only be fought under very strict and specific circumstances. Who I am of course referring to is the fan favorite ninja, Reptile. While playing the game normally, there would always be a small chance that Reptile could appear between matches, giving you one of the many hints on how to find him. And before y'all pointed out in the comments, yes, I know, I'm playing the censored SNES version of the game. There is a reason for that, so just bear with me here. By gathering up all of these hints, one would be able to figure out how to find and fight Reptile. The era of the arcade was long before the days.
You know what I find really interesting is that they've done character models like scanning back then as well. I didn't realize that until I saw behind the scenes for Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. That's so cool.
Where you could just pull out your phone and search up a list of all the hints, or a straight up guide on what you were exactly supposed to do. Back then, all you would have had to go on was just these clues, and the hope that he would continue to appear and give you more of them. I can only imagine how long that would take. In the few hours I spent continuously playing through single player, I couldn't get him to appear even once. And it's for these very reasons that I think Reptile's inclusion was such a genius move. Just imagine it. A bunch of kids are hanging out at an arcade, taking turns playing some Mortal Kombat, and all of a sudden a green version of Scorpion or Sub-Zero hops onto the screen giving some kind of cryptic message. What does it mean? Who was that? Did this mean there was a new character you could play as? And how many of these hints were there to find? Nobody really had all the answers at the time, but the point was, it got people talking. There was a mystery and everyone wanted to be the one to solve it. And what did you have to do to try? Simple. You had to keep putting more quarters into the machine, that's how. Forget Shang Tsung, forget Goro. Suddenly being the champion of Mortal Kombat wasn't enough. If you wanted to prove that you were the best player around, you had to find and defeat Reptile. Naturally, though, no secret can stay hidden from gamers forever. It would only be a matter of time before arcade goers gathered up all of the clues and figured out what needed to be done to challenge the Green Ninja. Here is a complete list of every clue that Reptile could provide. I am Reptile. Find me. You must find me to beat me. 10 million points if you destroy me. You cannot match my speed. Alone is how to find me. Perfection is the key. Fatality.
Crazy how he went from a rare character to a character that's playable. That's, wow. Good job, Reptile.
Is the key. Blocking will get you nowhere. Look to la luna, meaning look to the moon. Tip et faux matab.
I don't know what that means.
Of course, this is just bottom of the pit backwards, which references the place where the fight against him takes place. But to put it all more clearly, these are the actual conditions you must meet in the game to trigger the fight with Reptile. First, the game must be in single-player mode. You must be at the pit stage. A shadow must fly past the moon in the background, which unfortunately doesn't always happen. You must win the fight with 2 flawless victories. You must perform a fatality at the end. And lastly, you cannot block at all. Another thing to keep in mind is that the pit stage has the only stage fatality in the game, where you uppercut someone down into the spikes below. However, in the context of fulfilling the conditions to fight Reptile, this does not count as performing a fatality. As well, characters who require the input of the block button to do their finishing moves don't have to worry, as this doesn't seem to go against the rule of not blocking over the course of the fight. Though, while you obviously have to be pretty good at the game in order to satisfy these conditions, the part about the shadow flying past the moon is just plain obnoxious. There is no stage select feature, so all you could do was just play until the game finally cycled to the pit stage, and even then, there would never be a guarantee that any shadows would appear. How annoying would that be? Pulling off 2 perfect rounds without blocking, only to be denied the prize just because Santa Claus didn't fly by in the background. Tough luck to the player, but that just meant more quarters in Midway's pockets. That's another reason I'm playing the SNES version, by the way. Aside from fixing the issue of it improperly displaying Scorpion's name instead of Reptile, the Nintendo port also removes the requirement of having to see the shadow. Hardly makes up for everything else they took out, but I'll take it. Once you manage to fulfill the required conditions, instead of the next fight listed on the arcade ladder, you will be taken to the fight against Reptile at the bottom of the pit. Again, welcome to the family-friendly version of this stage. And well, I actually beat him pretty easily. I'm pretty sure the game automatically sets his AI to the highest difficulty, regardless of the one you're playing on, but even so, after all of the time I spent playing trying to get to him, I'd pretty much figured out how the AI in this game reacts to everything I do, so he didn't end up giving me nearly as much trouble as, say, a boss character like Goro. Oh well, but at least I got 10 million points. Nothing else in my life will ever matter. But just remember, if you lose now, then that's it. No extra chances or do-overs. If you want to try again, you're gonna have to meet all of those requirements again. It'd be pretty annoying to do, especially if you are playing a version that requires the shadow to appear. By the way, as for why this hidden fight takes place at the bottom of the pit stage, according to the Mortal Kombat wiki, Shang Tsung had Reptile wait there to finish off any fighters who should happen to survive the fall. I'm not sure where this info originates from, but I thought it was interesting to share while we're on the subject.
That makes sense considering that in MK1 remake, Reptile was in Shang Tsung's service, so it makes sense.
For those of you unfamiliar with the first game in the series, you should know that the Reptile in this game is quite different than the one seen in all future games. It wouldn't be until Mortal Kombat 2 and onward that Reptile would be given...
I didn't like the new rendition of the Reptiles in the future games. I didn't like that. I wish they had kept his classic style like this, and I'm glad they brought it back because it was just... It didn't look right. With the while giving us his transformation look, which is great, which is also pretty great.
Given his iconic acid spit attack and invisibility powers, as well as a spot as a normal selectable character. As a secret character in MK1, Reptile did not have any unique moves of his own, and instead had all of both Scorpion and Sub-Zero's at his disposal. The secret
and it made him seem like he was Chameleon? Because I feel like Chameleon has everybody's power.
Reptile fight has always been something that I thought was really interesting and cool for its time. But when you really think about it, it kinda seems strange for it to have worked so well, and be remembered as such a great video game secret. Although it is unfortunate to admit, the MK1 version of Reptile was quite literally just Scorpion and Sub-Zero merged together, in both moves and color. If someone tried to do that in their game nowadays and called it a hidden character, it would just be written off as lazy and people would quickly forget about it. I think though that it did so well because of how they presented it, having so much mystery surrounding him, and no quick access to the internet that would spoil it all. There was so much talk and speculation over Reptile at the time that there was also even rumors circulating that there was yet another hidden ninja character that could be found in the game. It was said that under certain conditions you could fight a red version of the trio named Ermac. This rumor got so out of control that the developers even teased players about it in the second game. And in a version of the third game, he was even actually added as a real character. Just goes to show how something that seems so simple an idea turned into something great. That, and this was the early 90s.
I gotta see that
the glory
again.
days of the teenage was yet and no quick access to the internet that would spoil it all. There was so much talk and speculation over Reptile at the time that there was also even rumors circulating that there was yet another hidden ninja character that could be found in the game. It was said that under certain conditions you could fight a red version of the trio named Ermac. This rumor got so out of control that the developers even teased players about it in the second game. And in a version of
I don't like how they butchered his look later on either. You know, it took away from the ninja look, and I really, really enjoyed the old school ninja look.
The third game, he was even actually added as a real character. Just goes to show how something that seems so simple an idea turned into something great. That, and this was the early 90s, the glory days of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers. If you took something awesome and put it in a different bright color, people ate it up. But to be fair though, Reptile as a character mainly came to be out of a smart use of the developer's assets. In an interview with Game Reactor regarding the upcoming release of MKX, co-creator of Mortal Kombat Ed Boon stated, "Reptile was created by simply changing the color of Scorpion and Sub-Zero's costume to green. We had no additional graphics memory for another character, so we made do with what we had. A smart idea, Mr. Boon, an idea so smart that it would go on to be expanded upon in the game's sequel." That's right, next up we're going to be talking about the hidden characters of Mortal Kombat 2. And unlike the last game, this time there are a total of 3 of them to be found. These characters are Jade, Smoke, and Noob Saibot. The approach to this was the same as the previous game. All of the secret characters here are palette swaps of regular characters, without any unique special moves of their own. Jade is a darker-skinned version of Kitana with a green outfit. Okay. Smoke is a gray version of Scorpion with a constant smoke effect surrounding his body. And Noob Saibot is, an entirely blacked out Scorpion. Original character, do not steal. Just like the last game, there is a random chance that Jade or Smoke will appear between matches, revealing one of the numerous hints on how to find them. Each one of them has their own very specific conditions to fulfill in order to fight them. Let's start with Jade. The clues that she is able to give are, I am called Jade. I will meet you in Goro's lair. One day we will fight. I am one of 3. Ermac who? This is of course the teasing over the rumors I mentioned earlier. Chun who? Is that a reference to Street Fighter's Chun-Li? That's a little weird. Alone is how you will find me. Restrict yourself. Before the question mark. This is referring to the question mark symbol on the arcade tower, obviously. Bring on Kano and Sonya. And there are some versions of the game that have a hint that says Hornbuckle who?
What?
This was just a reference to someone's name in the credits. However, this ended up causing fans to speculate that there was yet another hidden character in the game. Somehow the common belief became that this guy in the background of the pit stage was the rumored Hornbuckle character. Do you think you can figure out what you need to do from these clues? If you don't already know the answer, then I dare you to pause the video and write what you think the correct method is in the comments. Because I almost guarantee you won't be right. In order to enter into a fight with Jade, this is what you need to do. In single player mode, when fighting the character before the question mark on the tower, you must win a single round by only using the low kick button. Yeah, it's so obvious, isn't it? How could anyone have missed that? Okay, now before anything else, I just need to talk about how much nonsense there is here. Let's take another look at these clues again and try to figure this out. Before the question mark is pretty straightforward. Meeting you in Goro's lair is just referring to the stage you face all of the secret characters at. Alone is how you will find me obviously means that you have to be playing single player mode. And I guess restrict yourself is a vague way of saying restrict yourself to only using one attack button? But how in the world are you supposed to figure out which button to restrict yourself to? Which one of these clues tells you to use only low kick? Wait, is it the Chun-Li reference? As in, because Chun-Li is known for her kicks? Are you serious? That has to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How in the world did anyone ever figure this out? You'd be more likely to stumble upon the fight by accident before you piece this together. With Reptile in the first game, never heard. And I guess restrict yourself is a vague way of saying restrict yourself to only using one attack button? But how in the world are you supposed to figure out which button to restrict yourself to? Which one of these clues tells you to use only low kick?
Chun-Hu, the kick.
Wait, is it the Chun-Li reference? As in, because Chun-Li is known for her kicks?
Exactly.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That has to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How in the world did anyone ever figure this out? You'd be more likely to stumble upon the fight by accident before you piece this together.
Right.
With Reptile in the first game, although they weren't exactly spelled out, you could still reasonably piece together what it was you were supposed to do. But here it's all backwards. With how they're presented, some of these hints could mean anything. In fact, they can barely be called hints at all. And don't even get me started on the one that says, "Bring on Kano and Sonya." Any person would come to the logical conclusion that the game wants you to do something on the stage that has Kano and Sonya in the background. But this one is meaningless. It's probably just there to throw you off, which makes it all just even worse. But enough about that, let's get to the actual fight against her. Jade essentially just plays like a fast version of Kitana. In addition to that, all projectile attacks have no effect and will just go straight through her if you try. The fight itself is not a fun time. No matter what I do, I just can't get more than a single hit on her. For all of the secret characters, the game sets the difficulty to the highest setting while you fight them. And for those of you who have never played Mortal Kombat 2 before, you should be made aware that this game has some of the cheapest AI in fighting game history. Computer opponents don't react to what your character does on screen. They react to what you input on the controller. This means that whatever strategy you try, your opponent will do the appropriate counterattack instantly. Whether you're playing on very easy or very hard, it doesn't matter. They'll still be able to react to your moves at impossible speed. The only thing that the difficulty setting seems to affect is the likelihood of when the AI chooses to not do this. Doesn't that sound like fun? It's like playing rock, paper, scissors against someone who gets to choose after you've already revealed what you picked. The only way you can win is if your opponent lets you. Look, I'm not exaggerating here. Take this fight. I try to attack with Liu Kang's flying kick, and it gets blocked. But if you slow down the footage, you can see the AI is already blocking the attack within the first few frames of the animation. Yeah, that's real fair. Coupled with the fact that the secret characters have a much higher movement speed, it sure makes for a real fun and balanced challenge. There's no skill to the single-player aspect of this game. If you want to make it through, then you just have to figure out how to manipulate the AI so you can get cheap kills on them before they can do it to you. When I was a kid, I remember somehow beating Jade on my very first attempt by doing nothing but jump kicking. But ever since then, I haven't been able to beat her to save my life. Regardless of whether you win or lose though, you're taken back to continue the arcade mode where you left off. Next, let's move on to Smoke, who is yet another recolor of the ninja characters. The clues he can give are, I am called Smoke. Ermac who? You can start finding me. I am one of 3. You cannot defeat me. I will meet you in Goro's lair. Prove yourself. Mortal Kombat 1. Portal. Toasty. Think you got it this time? I highly doubt it. The way to fight against Smoke is as follows. You must first be at the portal stage. Keep performing uppercuts until the game's sound designer, Dan Forden, appears in the corner saying Toasty. As soon as he appears, you have to quickly press down and start. Once you do that, a small cutscene will play and you will be taken into the fight with Smoke. Alright, so let's take another look at the clues and try to figure out the logic behind this one. Obviously, some of these are repeats that are shared with Jade, so we can ignore them. Portal is simple enough to understand. Toasty obviously refers to when Dan Forden appears in the corner, but where are we supposed to get the down plus start input? Oh, I get it. You can start finding me. That's a little clever. But which one indicates that you have to press down as well? Seeing what they did with Jade, it's probably another massive stretch in logic. Right. Let's see, how about this? The hint that says Mortal Kombat 1. This game is Mortal Kombat 2. The number 1 is below the number 2 in value. Below as in down. Press down. Sure, why not? Makes about as much sense as the Chun-Hu clue that Jade
Exactly.
has. Wouldn't
But
surprise me if I was actually
that's a
right
bit more
about this.
straightforward. Like you
The
could
fight with
actually
Smoke
guess
is pretty
that,
much the
'cause
same
Chun-Li's
thing
known
as
for
Jade,
kicks.
except instead of fighting a fast version of Kitana, you're fighting a fast version of Scorpion. If you lose, in order to try again, you're going to have to wait until the game cycles to the portal stage again, and hope that you can get Dan Forden to appear. It's all hardly worth it though, as you don't get anything if you manage to beat him. And now we come to the final character of MK2, Noob Saibot. I think most people by now know this, but I'll say it anyway just in case.
Chilling.
The name of the character came from reversing the last names of the series co-creators Ed Boon and John Tobias. This time around, we don't need to worry about assembling any clues, as Noob doesn't appear and give any. In fact, the only thing in the game that even hints towards his existence is when the other two mention that they are one of three. The method of fighting him is simple enough. You just have to win 50 matches in a row. The easiest way to do this is to have a second player active and just wail on them while they stand there and do nothing. It's incredibly tedious, but it's the quickest way. Bear in mind, though, that if you turn off the game, the counter will reset, so you'll have to do this in one sitting.
What?
At least, that's how it is on the version I'm playing.
Yo. To play on an old school device, I remember Sega, Genesis, and Nintendo 64, there were no saves. So you had to keep it on.
I should also mention that apparently the Sega Genesis version only requires 25 consecutive victories instead. They probably realized that 50 was just way too much when they were making that port.
Impossible.
Once you've gotten your win streak high enough, you'll be taken into the fight. Noob is just another Scorpion clone, and a really lazy one at that. Just look at him. Were they even trying with this one? Rather than just changing the color of the outfit, they just made all of the sprites completely black. If that's all it takes to make a new character, then fine, I'll make one too. That's not Johnny Cage, it's my original character, Donnie Rage. He has all of the moves of Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, and Rex the Hedgehog. In order to fight him, you have to beat the game without using continues on a Tuesday night, when the moon is full, while holding the controller upside down and balancing a full egg carton on your head, while a Tibetan monk performs a wicked flute solo in the corner of the room. Oh, and your first name has to contain the letter A.
I get what you're saying. This is sarcasm and impossible requirements that they push upon the gamer. I know.
Otherwise it won't work. No one's ever done that before. You can't prove he's not real.
I understand.
Surprisingly, I was actually able to beat Noob. I managed to trick his AI into repeatedly jumping into Sub-Zero's freeze attack. It hardly feels like an achievement though. All I did was exploit how he reacts to certain movements. One thing that's kind of funny about Noob is that when he wins a round, instead of his name being spoken, it always plays these sound clips instead.
Oh, you will die, mortal.
At the very least, the game is a little more merciful if you lose here. It doesn't break your win streak, so you can challenge him again by winning another fight. Unfortunately,
cool.
Just like the other two, there's no reward for winning, aside from just being able to say that you did. And there you have it. All of the secret characters of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, and the craziness of how to find them. Looking at the series in its current form today, it's pretty amazing to see that every one of these characters, despite originally being nothing more than palette swaps, would later go on to become fleshed out and become major characters within Mortal Kombat lore.
And you know, I used to confuse Noob Saibot and Smoke, thinking that they were both the same character. So it's good to know that they're not. And that Noob is what Sub-Zero, the first Sub-Zero used to be. Yeah, and it's nice to see them fully fleshed out in MK3.
Even Noob Saibot, who was arguably just a joke character in his debut, would come to be revealed as the Sub-Zero from the first game who was killed at the hands of Scorpion. The Sub-Zero in future games and onward being his younger brother. Really, they had no right to give this thing a backstory, but they did, and I love it. It's things like these that really make me appreciate how secrets were put into games back in the day. Sadly though, with how big the internet has become since then, hidden content like this will probably be never seen again. The developers would later try to include more obscure and insane methods to find more characters in future games, but it just didn't work as well as it did before. In 2004's Mortal Kombat Deception, in order to unlock Liu Kang, in the game's story mode the player had to go to a very specific spot at a very specific in-game time, where a treasure chest would appear for a few seconds containing the unlockable. Despite the randomness of this, the internet had figured out this method right away. And what was meant to be another cool mystery in the Mortal Kombat legacy sadly ended up falling flat on its face. What do you
Oh yeah, thanks to the internet. Yeah, a lot of things you cannot keep things obscure anymore. Not in these times. So
think, though? Is it a good thing or bad thing that we'll never get to see some game secrets like this anymore? Should there be more crazy ways to hide?
they'll probably still try. Most definitely. I wouldn't stop them from trying, but then again, people have videos for everything now. Video tutorials, and people just don't want to do things on their own anymore. I am kind of included in that. In that genre, and you know what I'm saying right now. Just because sometimes you give it a few tries and then you just get tired of it and you just want to get ahead. It kills the the level of completion, but it is what it is.
Things from us? Or are you happy to say goodbye to tedious and cryptic hints? Thank you all for watching, and see y'all next time.
Yes and no. Yes and no. There are pros and cons to everything. But yeah, that was it for the secret characters. I was hoping to see a bit more, though. I was definitely hoping to see a little bit more. But maybe I'll react to like a Mortal Kombat 3. So let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what other gaming videos you want me to react to. Like and subscribe if you vibe. Become the beat today, and I will see you guys on live streams. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.